Hello. 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 Hello.
Hello everyone. In one way or another, the spread of COVID-19 is forcing all of us to change our daily routines. That might mean working from home, or it might mean planning how to close your business temporarily. Hello everyone, worried about your jobs, paying the bills, or taking care of your kids. But know that we've got your back. We've already announced a whole range of measures to protect jobs and the economy. Hello everyone. In one way or another, the spread of financing is forcing all of us. And today, they launched a $27 billion plan to help all Canadians. It might mean planning how to close your business temporarily times. Hello everyone. Worried other measures, jobs, paying bills, and taking care of your kids. Know the economy got your back. 43%. We've already announced a whole range of measures to protect jobs and have economy. In one way or another, we got your back. 47%. We've already announced jobs. We've got everyone who is savings and homelessness. However, savings in one way or another, for smarter this morning.
Hello.
Dhamma Vijaya, investigation of reality. Piti, rapture, joy. But also passaddhi, tranquility. Samadhi, concentration. Upekkha, equanimity. This means when the heart is completely awake, completely free, it's both totally energized, observant, joyful, and completely peaceful, calm, focused, simultaneously. These qualities don't oppose each other or interrupt each other. Rather, they are the natural attributes of the mind's fundamental nature when it's free of all obscuration. Dhamma Vijaya, investigation of reality. Piti, rapture, joy. But also passaddhi, tranquility. Samadhi, concentration. Upekkha, equanimity. This means when the heart is completely awake, completely free, it's both totally energized, observant, joyful, and completely peaceful, calm, focused, simultaneously. These qualities don't oppose each other or interrupt each other. Rather, they are the natural attributes of the mind's fundamental nature when it's free of all obscuration, free of clinging. Now, when we use this kind of language, speaking about when the mind is free of clinging, We're not talking about some kind of grand event way off in the future. But this moment, this very simple, ordinary, present moment, when the heart lets go, when the habits of clinging are momentarily dropped. When a thought is recognized and let go of, or an irritation in the body, feeling of discomfort or the urge to cough. To cough is something we find ourselves struggling with, and then we recognize, oh, this is just the feeling of needing to cough. That's all. In a moment of some simple, ordinary process like that, recognizing, oh, there's a struggling against the way things are, and then there's a letting go of the struggle. Oh, this is just a tickle in the throat. This is just a feeling in the body. That's all. And in that moment of dropping the struggle, letting go of the wish that things were different than the way they are, in that moment of non-contention, openness, and that craving, tanha, has been let go of, abandoned. And if we look, in that very moment, there's a peacefulness and brightness, a natural simplicity, purity. So when we talk about the Dhamma being realized, when clinging has been abandoned, called the breakthrough, or that realization of truth that is irreversible. So in our Buddhist language, in the kind of terminology of the Buddha's teachings, this is called stream entry, or I was speaking the other day about this, it's also known as a change of lineage. This is an area of practice. Sometimes our teachers will avoid speaking about any kind of level of realization, because instantly the mind starts to ask, where have I got? Have I got there yet? Am I on my way there? Am I heading in the wrong? How many stages have I got to go till I get there? Maybe I passed it already. Tell me, Ajahn, where am I? And so the mind can get competitive. Like, well, she might be a stream entrer, but I'm at least a non-returner. And so sometimes the great and wise teachers would avoid speaking about this kind of area altogether. But I feel it's value just to define what the quality of liberation is, how it can be measured or understood from personal experience, and also to reflect on what are the principal challenges or the things that need to be worked on that are say, valuable in spiritual development. It's interesting that in the different stages that the Buddha speaks about, none of them involve accumulation of knowledge. None of them involve particularly worldly skills, like learning to play a musical instrument or learning how to read or write, even. So you don't have to pass any exams, O-levels, A-levels. It's not a matter of getting a degree, or even being physically coordinated. You don't have to be able-bodied. Essentially, all you need is a body and a mind. The term "the breakthrough" is one that I'm quite fond of, since it gives a sense of having like a chick that's in the shell breaking through the shell that encases it, and enters upon its next stage of development to scuttle around freely in the world. So the chick has broken through the shell and can now move and breathe and see and actively engage with the world. So something in me delights in that image. In the connected discourses, the Samyutta Nikaya, there's a whole section on the breakthrough, and you have a series of images that the Buddha gives to describe the value and the importance, significance of reaching this degree of insight, having this kind of understanding, this change of view. In the very first one, it's called the fingernail, and the Buddha says he reaches down and scratches the earth and asks the question, "What do you think, monks? Which is greater in size, the amount of earth under my fingernail, or the earth, the whole planet itself?" Predictably, the monks say, "Venerable sir, the amount of dirt under your fingernail is very small, and the great earth is very large." And it's a kind of obvious answer. You could see that one coming. And then he says, so that the amount of suffering that one who has reached the breakthrough can expect to experience in the future is comparable to the dirt under my fingernail, and whereas the suffering that one who has not reached the breakthrough can expect is comparable to the great earth. Here the Buddha was a genius at coming up with these graphic images. He says, "What do you think? What do you think, monks? Is the which is greater in size, a few grains of sand or the whole Himalayan mountain range?" Venerable Sir, a few grains of sand is very small in size, but the Himalaya is very, very great. So too, the amount of suffering that one can expect to experience if you've made the breakthrough is comparable to a few grains of sand, whereas the amount of suffering you can expect to experience if you haven't made the breakthrough is comparable to the whole Himalayan mountain range. And on and on. I think there's 13 suttas in that whole collection. They all have the same flavor. So it's hammering the point home. It's a big difference. A big difference. And in terms of the Buddhist scheme of things, or the Buddha's description, so one who has reached this level of insight, when the mind has broken through ignorance, there's a certain irreversibility that so one who has reached this stage, and of course you can say, well, how do you know that's true, or prove it? So I can't, but just passing on the way that the Buddha spoke about this particular dimension of human experience, and the way he spoke of it repeatedly was in these terms, that there is a way that the mind can be developed through training, through the cultivation of wisdom, through the cultivation of virtue and concentration, sila, samadhi and panya, where the mind will reach a stage of development which is of this nature. And so he said that the being that has made the breakthrough, that's reached this stage, then they are incapable of being reborn in any of the lower realms. So this is a very attractive, if you like, the idea of past lives and future lives, and you have an interest in a pleasant future, minimizing suffering in the future, then this is an attractive prospect, because it means that as it says, the gates to the lower realms are closed. So one has reached the breakthrough. It's impossible for them to be born as an animal, or in the realm of the hungry ghosts, or in the hell realms. You can only be born in the human realm or in the Deva realms. For many people, that's a very attractive prospect. The gates to the lower realms are closed. The Abhaya Mukha is a closed door. And in addition, that such a being who's reached that level will definitely reach total enlightenment.
Reflecting on consciousness, this is a kind of subject that seems to have become quite important these days, because even though we're experiencing consciousness, we don't we want to kind of understand it or define it. So you hear some people saying that they equate consciousness with thinking or memory. So I've heard scientists or psychologists say that animals don't have consciousness, which seems ridiculous. Because they assume animals forget and they don't remember. But in terms of this moment, right now, this is consciousness, and we're just listening, and it's a pure consciousness before you start thinking. So just make a note of this. Consciousness is like this. And what I do is I'm listening, I'm kind of just with this present moment, being present, being here now, and taking the word consciousness and noting, making a mental note, consciousness is like this. So it's where thought arises, and feeling and emotion, isn't it? If we're unconscious, we don't feel and we don't think. But consciousness then is like the field that allows thought, memory, emotion, feeling to appear and disappear. So consciousness isn't personal. It's not to become personal. You have to make a claim to it. My consciousness, or I am conscious person, and that's just kind of making a claim. But it's just the awareness, this entrance into this noting the present, and at this moment, consciousness is like this. Then I, again, just notice this sound of silence, and just sustaining, being able to rest in just a natural state of consciousness that is non-personal, not attached.
OnePlus 3G, disconnected, ready to pair.
Now, noting this is like informing or educating oneself the way it is. And because our consciousness, we're born. When we're born, then the consciousness within this separate form starts operating. So, like a newborn baby is conscious, but yet it doesn't have a concept of itself as being English or male or female or anything like that. Those are conditions that will acquire after birth. So consciousness is this realm, is a conscious realm. So then we think of the universal consciousness, so that consciousness as it's used in the five khandhas, vijnana, rupa, vedana, sannyasa, kara, vijnana, and then consciousness.
Connected to OnePlus 3G.
Consciousness. But then there's also this consciousness unattached, or the unlimited, or deathless. So they have this in two places in the Tripitaka they refer to Vinyanang, Anidasanang, Anantang, Sapato, Pabang. And you got a mouthful of words that point to this state of
1 plus 3G, disconnected, ready to pair.
That natural, this natural conscious, this reality. Consciousness, that natural, this natural conscious, this reality. So I find it very useful to really note this, make this a very strong noting consciousnesses like this, so that if I start thinking about it, then I want to define it. So is there an immortal consciousness, or we want to make it into some kind of metaphysical doctrine, or we want to deny it, saying that consciousness is anicca dukkha anatta. It says so, vinyanang, aniccang, vinyanang, anatta, and so forth. We want to pin it down or define it either as impermanent and not self, or we want to maybe raise it up into some kind of thing that, that we hold to as a kind of metaphysical positioning. But I'd say we're not interested in proclaiming the metaphysical doctrines, or in just limiting ourselves to maybe an interpretation that we've acquired through this tradition, but trying to explore it in terms of experience. And this is where this Luang Cha's Ben Budgetan is. This is something you realize for yourself. So what I'm saying now is an exploration. It's I'm not trying to convince you or convert you to my, quote, my viewpoint, unquote. So when you kind of think consciousness is like this, it is right now. The consciousness, definitely conscious. And there's alertness, awareness. And then conditions arise and cease, don't they? If you just sustain and rest in consciousness, unattached, not trying to do anything or find anything or become anything, but just relax and trust. And then things arise. Suddenly you'll be aware of a feeling, a physical feeling, or a memory, or an emotion, or something will arise, and so that memory becomes conscious, or that sensation. And then it ceases, so that the consciousness is like a vehicle, a natural, it's the way things are. Is consciousness got something to do with the brain? Because we tend to think of it as maybe a kind of mental state that depends on the brain. So we tend to think of consciousness as if
forerunner of all wholesome states, just like the lightening of the sky in the early morning precedes the dawn, so too right view is the forerunner, precedes all wholesome states. A right view can be defined in different ways, but essentially it means seeing things clearly, seeing them in their true light, seeing the reality of our experience free from self-view, free from delusion, greed, hatred, and delusion. And Luang Por Sumedho would often point out, if you start out with delusion, if you start out with ignorance, avijja, you always end up with dukkha, with suffering. You start out heading in the wrong direction, with the wrong map, we're not going to get where we want to go. You start out with vijja, with awareness, with the right view. Then it's like having an accurate map heading out in the right direction. Then we can get where we need to go. You start out with vijja, awareness.
ये हल्दीराम पे को ना ऑर्डर दी गार मांगना की बिटवे किसान चीज को हाँ सुनिए यार क्या इतनी बड़ी तेरे सफाई पर
बस मेरे डबल गॉड का
Jaya Mangalang Sakkatwa Bundarathanang Osadang Uttamang Varang Hitang Deva Manussanang Bundate Jena Suntina Nassantu Pandava Sabbe Dukkha Upasamindute Sakkatwa Dhammaratanang Osadang Uttamang Varang Parila Ratanang loke vinjati vivida putu ratanang dhamma samannati tasma sotti bhavantu te yang kinci ratanang